Hello, everybody. Welcome to droidcon London 2022. I'm delighted to be here. I hope you're having a great conference, and I hope you've learned some things today. In this session, I'll be sharing some lessons learned from CI/CD from Android DevOps teams, 3,500 of them from across the globe. My goal today is to show you how your DevOps practices compare to those of your peers, and give you some insights into how you can make your own practices more effective, more productive, and fun. Along the way, we'll be reviewing how thousands of teams are building their apps. We'll uncover some best practices, show you how your teams compare to industry sectors, and hopefully you'll walk away with some inspiration around how to improve your own workflows. Before we start, a few gentle warnings. So first of all, this presentation will be interactive. So please join in. Secondly, I'm running this presentation not on my laptop, so if the formatting is fucked up, there's nothing I can do about it. Also, I'll be giving a very brief introduction about me and Bitrise, but I promise to keep that short. Before I do, let's learn a little bit more about each other. Hands up if you work in an organization that also develops for iOS. Okay, pretty good. That's about 70%. Hands up if you work cross-platform. About 30%. Okay, cool. Hands up if you're a mobile dev engineer. Okay, good expectation. And hands up if you manage a team of DevOps. Just one? Okay. And hands up if you manage a developer experience platform, like a mobile platform. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool. All right. Good. Now we know a little bit more about each other. A little bit about me. I've worked in a variety of roles in different sectors throughout my career, across telecoms, creative design, ad tech, and now I'm in DevOps. I specialize in developing go-to-market strategies for enterprise customers. And pre-pandemic, I spent 10 years at Google developing that. For the past year, I've been at Bitrise in a consulting role with large enterprises, and I help dozens of mobile organizations elevate their CI and CD workflows. I'm born and bred a Londoner, as you probably can hear from my accent, but I currently live in the Netherlands. Okay, a little bit about Bitrise, and that's a warning about the formatting. Hands up if you've heard about Bitrise. Okay, pretty good, 60%, I'd say. Hands up if you use Bitrise. All right, pretty good. Okay, so this is definitely not a pitch. As you can see, I'm not wearing any branded material, so that's deliberately on purpose. But I'll just give you a little bit of context about Bitrise so that it fits in with the rest of our talk today. So Bitrise is a CI/CD platform, specifically for mobile. It supports Android, iOS, and cross-platform. We have 300 out-of-the-box steps, specifically made for mobile. It's a cloud service with all the tooling you'll need to run your Android workflows, and we manage automatic app distribution on the over-the-air Play Store and Enterprise. Okay, so onto mobile DevOps. So basically, whatever project management style that DevOps teams work with, ultimately their ambition is to be successful, and in doing so, build and release fast to achieve reliable and frequent release schedule. Because doing this means you get a better user experience, better store rankings, more installs, less churn, more app impact, and ultimately it's better for the businesses that you represent, and it's better for the users that you are making apps for. And of course, it's a better experience for the developers themselves. We know that successful teams adopt these key elements of mobile DevOps practices. So in terms of building, testing, releasing, monitoring, measuring, and then pipelines and so on. And the key elements really can be distilled into these 3 points. So continuous communication and planning, continuous integration, delivery, and deployment, and continuous testing and monitoring. So that's a lot of mentioning of the word continuous there. Time for another audience question. Hands up if you'd like to share what you understand about continuous integration. Anyone? No brave souls? Not one. Okay. Okay, so continuous integration is made up of two components, right? It's the cultural component, which is the act of regularly merging changes to the central repo, and it's a tooling component. So it's a version control system and a platform for running automated checks. Anyone want to take a gamble on continuous delivery? No. Sorry? Getting your changes into production. Good. Thank you for being brave. Yeah, continuous delivery is automation that ensures the code is always ready for release and in a releasable state. So why bother with that? Well, the benefits are increased developer productivity, an ability to catch bugs earlier, an ability to shift left in testing, more iteration and more innovation, which goes back to what I was talking about earlier in terms of having greater impact in your apps and happier users, and also ultimately a better user experience with more app impact. Okay, so how are other teams doing DevOps? So in an ideal world, you guys would come up with an idea, scribble it on the back of an envelope, release it to the stores, you get a 5-star rating, and make tons of cash, right? Great. But in reality, there's a lot of stuff that happens from there to there. Anybody want to give a brief experience from their side on how app development works in their teams?
Messily.
Sorry?
Messily.
Messily, that's a good one. Anybody else? One word adjective, perhaps? No, thank you. Well, the truth is, a lot of stuff happens at that point. And until recently, we don't know. We didn't know how that works with DevOps teams in different sectors or in different industries or teams with different sizes. And so it would be really great if we understood what happens in that middle part so that we can take learnings from that experience and adapt our own workflows accordingly. Well, now you can. So introducing something called MODAS, which is the world's first mobile DevOps best practice survey. So MODAS is a self-survey assessment for mobile teams that covers all aspects of mobile development, including app creation, testing, deployment, monitoring, and collaboration. Its goal is to provide you guys with insight and actionable guidance for mobile product teams of all sizes and all industries. And the scope of the survey was global, so it was across EMEA, Latin America, US, and APAC. It had respondents ranging from solo developers to developers in companies with more than 5,000 headcount. It covered emerging apps, as well as household names and social networks. And it also included anonymized data from internal Bitrise. So I think we pulled in 2 million builds per month across 100,000 collaborators. So it's a pretty wide-ranging survey across all team sizes, all geos, and all sectors. So how can MODAS help you? Well, to get better at DevOps, your teams need to know what to improve and where they stand against their peers. You can use the survey to discover what other teams are doing. You can benchmark how your own teams are performing, similar to organizations similar to yours. And you can confidently improve best practices according to the maturity of your team versus those of your peers. The survey is still open, and you can visit our booth, for those of you who haven't, to participate. And I'll also share some details on how to do that at the end of this presentation. Every quarter, we release specific reports for you to use, and you can download those and again, take learnings from those and compare how your teams are doing. And we've also released a suite of resources to help you improve in key areas, so things like best practices and other knowledge articles. Before we go into some specific details, let's look at some top-line trends. So some top-level insights so far. 63% of teams globally have a mobile platform team. 11% deploy every 7 days or less. And 5% don't do device testing. Anybody want to put their hands up if they don't have a mobile platform team? Right, honest individual there. I know from the question at the beginning, some people are a bit shy right now. Hands up who deploys every 7 days or less. Very good, very good. And hands up who doesn't do any device testing. Okay. I'll trust your honesty there. Next insight is around finance apps and shopping. So finance apps typically have more robust testing practices and use feature flags more often, whereas shopping apps tend to use more in-app A/B testing. Hands up who looks after a finance app. Okay. Hands up if you use feature flags. Keep your hands up. There's more hands than there were before. Okay. Hands up who runs a shopping app. Okay. And do you run A/B testing? Okay. Cool. Good. All right. So I won't ask you to call out these particular items, but just as insight. So typically, orgs that use modular app design are more likely to deploy features faster. So that's a recommendation or a best practice you can get there. And the use of unit tests, UI, and static tests is correlated with lower hotfix rates. And use of crash reporting and app monitoring is correlated with faster bug fix releases. So that's some kind of top-line data to share there. Okay, so now that we've looked at some highlights, let's get a little bit more specific. I'm going to cover 7 key areas, hopefully where you can compare to how your teams are doing, and you can get an understanding on how to improve. So let's look at the first topic, which will be build times. Raise your hand if you know how long your average or median build time takes. Okay, good. Anybody want to shout out what their team's average median build time is? Sorry? 25 minutes. 18? 18? 4.5? 12. Okay, take one more.
I can be more specific. When we're on Travis, where it was an hour, with the Bitrise, it's been 45 minutes.
Okay, I did say this wasn't a pitch, but I'll repeat what you said. So when you were on Travis, it was an hour, but when you're on Bitrise, it was 25 minutes. All right. Okay, thank you all for your cooperation. Okay, so the median build on Android on Bitrise is 13 minutes. This is typically successful builds, typically pull requests and across all instant types. Okay, how can you speed up builds? So you could basically write a book about this. So I'm just going to cover some of the top level highlights. The first one is measure. So what you don't measure, you can't improve. There are plenty of options you can use for this. Bitrise has an insights tool where we show build times and flaky tests. You can also use other commercial options like Gradle Enterprise, or you can publish data into a third-party tool like Grafana. The other thing you can do is use caching. So you can take this to whichever level you want. On a basic level, you can cache Gradle dependencies, or you can use remote Gradle build cache. Other recommendation is use parallel builds. So typically you would run parallel builds with your testing. So you could have testing running in parallel rather than sequence or across different workflows. Also, another recommendation is the Google Docs. So Google do a really good job of keeping their documentation up to date and useful. If you do a search for optimize your build in the Google Docs, there's tons of recommendations there. And lastly, choose your hardware wisely. So run on fast agents when you need to for cost effectiveness. So we know that lots of Android teams will run on Mac Minis because that's where their iOS builds run. We also know that in some cases they'll run on a company shared cluster for the CI/CD, which isn't ideal. Okay, onto unit testing. So for those of you who don't know, unit tests are the smallest and fastest tests. They provide quick feedback in case your change broke something. They also promote writing modular code, which is great for deploying faster, which I mentioned earlier. Raise your hands if you're unit testing. Good, pretty much everyone. Anyone want to take a guess on the number of teams across the globe that run unit testing?
73%.
Sorry? 72%? 83%? 90-40. Okay, so the answer is 86%, so well done. Okay, some tips for unit testing. So there's not much to say here other than do it and do it often. If you're familiar with the concept of shift-left testing, you'll know why this is important. If you're not, come and see us at the booth and we can talk about that. Again, also the official Google Docs are great. Google's done a great job in pushing the community forwards on this. There's best practices with tons of recommendations. You can also see code labs for guided examples, and Google also maintains a GitHub repo with sample code for testing. All right, next question, static analysis or lint testing. Raise your hands if you're running static analysis. Okay, about 50% of the audience. Anyone want to take a guess for what global teams are running?
40%.
30? 46. One more? 60. Okay, so the answer is 69%. So quite a few folks are running static analysis, lint testing. Really, this should be 100%, as it's essentially a free way to improve app quality. Some quick benefits of static analysis are they're super easy way to improve app quality. They provide quick feedback. They eliminate unproductive pull request conversations by enforcing standards. Less error-prone than humans and can do things that humans can't do, like cyclomatic complexity. Okay, snapshot testing. So for those of you who don't know, snapshot testing is basically where we catch visual regressions in the UI. Previously, automated tests were terrible at this. People relied on humans because the human condition is much more able to detect anomalies. Basically, they work by taking a before and after picture, and if there's a difference, then the test fails. Raise your hand if you're doing snapshot testing. So about 10% of the audience. Okay. Any guesses for what the global figure for snapshot testing is? 15? 5? 20%. One more? 40. Okay. So just 27% of teams globally in the survey run snapshot testing. Some quick tips for snapshot testing. There's commercial tools available that you can use. Some of them have a fancy AI to be smarter about when to pass or fail a test. There's plenty of open source libraries for this as well. And lastly, Espresso has snapshot testing built in, and it can do some other fun stuff like generating screenshots. Okay, here's a fun one. Sending Slack or Teams notifications on builds. Raise your hand if you send chat build status. Okay, quite a few, 70%, I'd say. Any guesses how many teams across the globe do this? 55? 80? Any more takers? 28, very specific, like it. Okay, so 38% of teams globally use notifications. Of course, this is workflow dependent. Some quick benefits around using notifications. We find that overall, teams that use notifications report better collaboration across their teams. You can post updates straight back to the code review tool, which is great, again, for collaboration. And also, if you find yourself having to log in to your CI tool to debug, you can use notifications to help you remove a step and post the relevant information back into your version control system, saving you time. Okay, next up, pipeline as a code. So what this is basically some CI tools allow you to define workflows in the central UI. Others give you an option to commit your workflow as a YAML configuration file to the repo. This is known as pipeline as a code or defining infrastructure as a code. At Bitrise, we offer both options. So run it in the UI or save it in the repo. I had a few questions about this today, actually, at the booth, so I'd be quite interested to know this. Raise your hand if you run pipeline as a code. Okay, about 30%. Okay, any guesses on what the global figure for this might be? 41? 30%? Okay, so the answer is just 12% of teams globally run pipeline as a code. Which is a shame because it's got some great benefits. Basically, everyone has access to, who has access to the repo can view the YAML. Pipeline changes can be code reviewed. And obviously, there's a built-in audit log to see the history of changes. There are some downsides to doing this. Obviously, you need to learn the YAML syntax. And it's annoying sometimes when you push up invalid YAML. So to mitigate this, Bitrise has a couple of tools to help you with this. First of all, we have a Bitrise CLI, which helps you validate the YAML pre-push and allows you to test the YAML on your local box for quicker iteration. We also have a CLI plugin, which spins up an editor, so you don't have to deal with the YAML and you still get pipeline as a code. Okay, and last one. This is, of course, on deployment. So raise your hand if you automatically publish into Google Play. I'd say that's about 35% of the audience. Okay. Any guesses for how many teams globally automatically publish to Google Play? 54.7. Nice, like the decimal. 60? 20? 10? How much? 3. You're on fire this afternoon. 19%. So just 19% automate publishing to the Google Store. Which is a shame, again, because first of all, who wants to do manual work, right? You know, you get, there's a risk of clicking the wrong button. There's a risk of uploading the wrong files. You have to provision user accounts. And what do you do when the person who does this is on holiday? Next point is automation eliminates this human risk. The Google API makes this easy, especially compared to iOS, for those of you who are familiar with both sides of the coin. And at Bitrise, we have an out-of-the-box step to help you with this, or you can run it through Fastlane, or if you're bold and you have the time, you can write your own API client. Okay, cool. So we've looked at how thousands of teams are building their apps. We've also uncovered some best practices and hopefully some actionable insights for improving your CI workflows. And hopefully now you know a little bit more about how your teams and your DevOps practices compare to those of other teams across the globe. You can find more insights and best practices by downloading the Modus report. This is the finance report, specific to the finance sector. See how you compare there. Every month or so, we'll be releasing new reports covering different sectors. The shopping report is also available. If you go on our website, you can find it there, or if you come and visit me at the booth, I can give you a QR code for the shopping. And you can still take the survey as well. So this link is your opportunity to take the survey. Once you're in, as we release reports, we'll distribute those reports to you. Again, if you don't have time to take the survey, come and see us at the booth, and you can get some swag as well while stocks last. Last thing I want to say is thank you for listening and joining in, for those who joined in, and I hope to see you in the party later on today. Thank you very much.